This is in the matter of State v. Thomas Parisi. Docket number 449, 2023, CR 12. Can the parties please identify themselves for the record?
James Shepherd for State of New Hampshire, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Patrick Richard, Your Honor, for Mr. Parisi, who's seated to my left.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I note that the proceeding is being recorded. Are there any objections to that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Freeman, just as before, you're permitted to record in the courtroom, just no disruptions, okay? No problem. Thank you. Any preliminary matters before we begin?
I understand the defense might call a witness or two. I just would ask for a sequestration.
Any objection?
No objection, we have one witness.
Sure.
Step out. Step out into the hall.
All right. And if there's no other preliminary matters, state your case.
All right. State will call Mark Stevens, Your Honor.
Just gonna plug in my computer.
You remain standing, raise your right hand. You swear that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yep.
Thank you. Have a seat. State your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Mark Stevens, Stevens.
And, Mr. Stevens, where did you live back on the 22nd of July, 2022?
292 Richmond Road, apartment D in Winchester, New Hampshire.
And do you know the defendant?
Yeah.
And how did you know him?
I just knew he was hanging out with the downstairs neighbors about a week.
And did something occur, what was it that occurred that day that was unusual?
The power went out probably around midnight.
And what did you do as a result of the power going out?
My downstairs neighbor was on kidney dialysis, so I went downstairs, checked on him, got him off his pump. Then I had to go get battery packs out of my car, bring him upstairs.
And did, while that process was happening, did you have a run-in with the defendant?
Yep, on my way back up the stairs, he came out of the downstairs apartment.
And what did he say to you? First of all, who was there at the time that this confrontation first started?
I believe it was just me and him outside,
Okay.
because I don't think the other people that lived down there came outside yet.
Okay. So when the confrontation first started, it was just the two of you?
Yeah.
And what was said?
We talked about the power being out, and then it slowly started turning into more of a confrontation of I put the power out.
Okay.
So,
Had you put the power out?
no.
And when you say it started to become more of a confrontation, how did the conversation progress from that?
Well, like I said, at first I just thought he was asking me about it, and then all of a sudden he started talking about how I could have gone up a pole and pulled the breaker, and because I was trying to affect what they were doing downstairs or something.
Okay. And then what happened next?
I went upstairs, dropped off the battery packs, came back down to try and figure everything out, and it just kind of started getting more and more, like, confrontational.
Okay. And so when it started to get more confrontational, did more people come out to see what was happening?
Yep. The downstairs neighbors came out. They tried to get him back inside. And then my other neighbor, he heard the commotion. He had come out. And then the other upstairs neighbor, she had come out.
All right. So if you can remember, which neighbors were out there on the porch?
I think all of us at that point, because even my other half had come downstairs to try and figure out why I ran back out.
All right. Can you remember the names?
Yep. Andy Jackson, Haley downstairs, Sean was downstairs, and then Patricia Whitney was upstairs.
Okay. And as far as you remember, all those people came out onto the porch when it started to get confrontation?
Yep.
And then did it become more heated after that?
Yeah.
And what did Mr. Parisi say to you?
Well, you started talking with Andy, trying to say that I cut power out, and when Andy called him stupid, he started threatening Andy, and then he started threatening me again, trying to say he was going to slit our throats. And
Did he say anything other than he was gonna slit your throats?
yeah, at one point, he got upset that I had my light on my flashlight. He thought I was recording him, and then he said that he was going to record me and send it to his friends to have them come and put me in a barrel.
I couldn't hear that.
He said he was going to have his friends come and put me in a barrel.
Barrel?
Yeah.
What did you understand that to mean?
I figured I was going to be cut up and put in a barrel.
Okay. And as a result, did it, how did this conversation affect you?
It bothered me until, time went on, but
Okay.
right then I didn't really know him that well, so he very well could have had full inclinations of slitting my throat, put me in a barrel.
Yeah. And did you know Mr. Jackson, Andrew Jackson?
Yes.
And could you see any outward signs of his reaction to these events?
He was angry.
Okay.
He got very angry.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not responsive to the question. His anger, he has no basis of knowledge for that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna sustain the objection. So the question was, what did you observe?
I just observed that he was getting angry. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, so I'll strike that unless the state wants to re-ask that.
Judge, I think that that's within the ken of normal adult humans, that they can perceive, unless you have lack of all empathy, you can perceive the outward signs of other people's emotions, and then it's lay testimony. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and that's just to lay a little bit of foundation.
How long had you known Mr. Jackson at that point?
Oh boy, 3 years, 4 years, somewhere in that realm. And I've been really helping him out for the better part of 6 months after his kidneys started failing.
All right. So Mr. Jackson is the downstairs neighbor that you were helping switch out batteries?
No, I would bring the batteries upstairs for myself. I had to help him get off his dialysis pump because when the power goes out, he has to, well, he knew how to do it a lot, but there's this hoses he had to clamp off, and if he needed it, like if he was too far along, I'd have to hand pump for him.
So you're very familiar with Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Your Honor, I submit there's been a sufficient foundation for the witness to testify as to his friend's outward signs of emotional reaction.
Counsel, as to the witness's lay opinion,
Withdraw the objection.
we'll withdraw striking it, and I'll admit it.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, how long did Mr. Parisi continue to carry on?
I think we were out there for about an hour, hour and a half, and it all kind of started going fast, but
And did this continue all the way up until the police arrived?
yeah, right before the police arrived, he did finally say, "I'll leave," but as he was leaving, the police arrived.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay. Your witness, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stevens, you weren't too familiar with Mr. Parisi at the time that he stayed at this residence, correct?
No.
Okay. But you knew of him?
Yeah, I had heard of him like that week. It was kind of all just,
Okay. And did you look into him, like through the internet or anything like that?
not really, just stuff that had already popped up on my Facebook feed. That's kind of how I learned of him.
Okay. So you learned that he had a Facebook page?
Yeah,
Pretty active?
yeah.
And you learned that he had a YouTube channel as well?
I didn't know about the YouTube channel.
Okay. And through the Facebook page, then you found out that he wasn't very popular, correct?
Yeah, some of the things that I saw weren't positive.
Okay. So that led you to have a negative feeling about Mr. Parisi, isn't that correct?
Slightly. I won't say fully. It was a situation that I had seen.
All right. Now, you said you had some downstairs neighbors that came out once things started getting more serious, correct?
Yes,
And one of those neighbors is Sean McCarron?
I believe so. I know his first name, Sean. I don't know his last name.
Okay. And you said Andy Jackson was there as well?
Yes.
Okay. And did he live in the same apartment?
No,
as Mr.
there's
McCarron?
4 units. There's 2 upstairs and then 2 downstairs.
Okay. All right. So a gentleman named Sean and Haley lived together in one apartment, correct?
Yes,
And another apartment was Mr. Jackson?
yes.
Okay, all right. And you said that there was an exchange of words, and that it lasted about an hour?
I'd say so, probably an hour, hour and a half. Like I said, things were going real quick.
Okay. So how soon into this conversation did did Mr. Parisi threaten you?
Probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Because like we had the other exchange first, and then when he realized that I wasn't overly concerned, that's when we progressed on to threats.
Okay. And then what happened for the next 40 to 30 minutes then?
There was a lot of yelling. It was just all of us telling him to leave, and he wasn't leaving, trying to still accuse me of putting out the power.
Okay. But you stayed in the common area of this apartment building,
Yes,
arguing with him?
yes, because at one time he told me to go upstairs, and he'd come up and deal with me. But,
Okay. And you felt insulted at the fact that he told you to go upstairs?
well, I didn't want him coming upstairs. I have an aggressive dog.
Okay. But you decided it was better?
Yeah,
for you-
better for the whole situation if I stayed downstairs.
Okay. Right. And you were saying things to him as well, correct, during this
Yeah,
interaction?
at first I was trying to figure out why he was thinking I'd cut the power. I told him if I was gonna cut power to one apartment, I would do it with the breaker downstairs, not kill the whole building.
Okay. And you weren't happy with him? You were angry?
Yeah, I was a little angry.
Okay.
More concerned as to why he thought I'd climb up a pole and kill power, but
Okay. And at some point prior to this incident, had you had a conversation with the downstairs neighbors about Mr. Parisi moving in?
yeah, I asked him if he was gonna be living there,
Okay.
and I told him that I don't want him living there.
All right. Nothing further on.
Redirect. Okay. Thank you, sir. May I see?
Do I go back out there or in here?
Is this witness excused?
I think he could be dismissed.
I don't see it recalling him.
You're dismissed, you can leave.
All right, thank you.
State's next witness.
State restaurant.
Let's call Sean McCarron, Your Honor. He's in the hallway.
Yep.
Would you like me to go get him?
Whatever's easier, that's fine.
Ron, dear, Sean McCarron, can you send him in?
Helps having somebody in the hallway. I'll check.
Okay.
He's in the vestibule. Come on in, Sean. Come to the witness stand. Come through here, go towards the court officer, and then sit in the witness stand.
Right there.
Would you remain standing and raise your right hand? Your other right hand. There you go. Do you swear the testimony you're gonna give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated. Mr. McCarron, could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Sean, S-E-A-N, McCarron, M-C-C-A-R-R-O-N.
Okay, Sean, where do you presently live?
I live in Jaffe right now, currently homeless.
Okay. And who do you live with?
Her mother,
When you say her mother, who do you?
Haley's mom,
Okay, and who's Haley?
my fiance.
Okay, all right. And in July of last year, where were you living?
292 Richmond Road,
What town is that in?
Winchester.
Okay, and who were you living with at that time?
Haley,
Haley, okay. And is it an apartment? single-family home?
apartment, yes.
How many apartments are in that building?
There's 4.
Okay. And who lived in your apartment building?
There was Mark, there was Pat, Andy, and Mark upstairs.
Mark was upstairs, okay. And do you know Mark's last name?
Stevens.
Okay. And at some time in late July, specifically the 24th of July, did you have a guest there by the name of Mr. Parisi?
Yes, I did.
How do you know Mr. Parisi?
We go a ways back, been friends for years.
Friends for years? Okay. All right. And sometime that night, around 8 o'clock, was there an incident involving the neighbor?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know how the incident began?
All I know is my power went out at my apartment, and then Mr. Parisi came out politely asking the upstairs neighbor what happened, and he's like, well, I'm really not sure, doesn't know what went down on the power and anything, and then they just started exchanging words after that,
Okay.
but never once did I hear any threats.
When you say exchanging words, what were they saying back and forth?
And I wasn't really paying no mind to it.
Okay. How long did this interaction take place, do you think?
A little over a half hour.
A little over half hour, okay. Did it turn violent at all?
No, because I stepped in between the both of them before any altercations broke out until the cops came.
Okay. And you indicated earlier there was nothing of note that was said. What, if anything, did Mr. Parisi say to Mr. Stevens that threatened violence?
I never once heard anything of that.
Okay. How about, what, if anything, did Mr. Parisi say towards Mr. Jackson?
Like I said, I wasn't paying attention. It was late at night and I was half awake.
Was there anything regarding violence that it was said?
Not of my knowledge.
Okay. Were you friends with Mr. Jackson?
For a long time, yes.
Okay. And Mr. Jackson has since passed?
Yes.
Okay. If Mr. Parisi had said anything towards Mr. Jackson, how would you have reacted?
I wouldn't have been too happy about it, but like,
Towards who?
like I said, I wouldn't have been too happy if he said that to Andy, because he was one of my best friends, God rest his soul, but I didn't hear anything of that.
Okay. All right. And when you came outside and you heard there was an interaction, how much were you paying attention once you came outside?
A little bit of it, but not much.
Okay. All right. Was there foul language being used?
Yeah, a lot of it, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then when the cops came and I talked to them, then I went back in my house, and after that, I don't know what happened to Mr. Parisi.
Okay. And who was using the foul language?
Between the both of them.
They were both using foul language? Okay. All right. But you said you never heard any threats?
Nope, not once.
Nothing further,
Cross-examination.
You never wrote down a written statement or anything like
Nope.
that contemporaneous with what this
Not at the time, no.
And it's fair to say that this happened just over a year ago now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, your memory might have faded.
No, I don't think so.
No? You think you remember it crystal clear? just like
Yes,
it
I
happened
do.
yesterday? Well, you already testified that you weren't even really paying that much attention.
I paid attention to some of it, and the other half I wasn't paying attention to it.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
Did you bring up any redirect?
You said that there were some things that you were paying attention to, correct?
Some things I were and some things I wasn't.
Okay. So if something was said that was threatening violence, would you have paid attention to that?
I would have, yes.
Nothing further.
Does that bring up process to that very narrow issue? You're all set, sir? Is this
Thank
what-
you.
May this witness be dismissed?
Yes.
You're all set, sir, thank you.
In defense, Russ, you're up.
I'll hear from the defense first, and as to any argument, and then I'll hear from the state.
We have two witnesses who testified at the same event, both remember it differently. One, the first witness, Mr. Stevens, who was also the alleged victim in one of the cases, has indicated that he was threatened. He also indicated that he had a dislike for the defendant, Mr. Parisi, that he did not want him living at that residence. He looked him up and realized he did not like Mr. Parisi. So at the time of this event, and I suggest ongoing, he had a bit of an axe to grind in some minor way. Mr. McCarron testified that he came out at the time that there was arguing back and forth, and he heard what was ongoing. Although he wasn't totally paying attention, he said he would have paid attention if he heard threatening statements made on behalf of Mr. Parisi. Given the fact that the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Parisi actually made threats both to Mr. Stevens and to Mr. Jackson, and the fact that we have two competing stories here, both could be equally plausible, I think there's reasonable doubt here. And since, Your Honor, there is reasonable doubt, I'm asking the court to make a finding of not guilty on both charges. Thank you.
Counsel?
Your Honor, the court heard from Mr. Stevens, who was personally involved in the confrontation and had an opportunity to write down what happened that evening, and so has a crystal clear recollection of events. And the court also heard from Mr. McCarron, who testified that hardly paying attention to even what was happening, and he wasn't directly involved in the confrontation. I suggested to the court that therefore Mr. Stevens' testimony should be credited more as to what occurred, in addition to him observing the reaction from both himself